Hola, en este video vamos a hablar sobre los verbos en español. Hi, in this video we're going to talk about Spanish verbs. Spanish verbs are divided into three groups depending on whether they finish in AR, ER or IR. For example, cantar, to sing, beber, to drink, and vivir, to live. There are also irregular verbs in Spanish, so we could technically say that there are three groups plus irregulars, or four groups if we want to include the irregulars. Verbs that finish in AR belong to the first conjugation. Verbs that finish in ER belong to the second conjugation, and verbs that finish in IR belong to the third conjugation. In other words, to make it simpler, verbs that finish in AR, we say that they belong to group 1 because A is the first vowel. Verbs that finish in ER belong to group 2 because E is the second vowel. And verbs that finish in IR belong to group 3 because I is the third vowel. Spanish tenses. So we're going to be using cantar as a model verb for group 1, beber for group 2 and vivir for group 3. And what I want you to have a look at on this table is in the middle we've got present. So as you can see, I sing is canto. So if you look at it, canto would be the same beginning of the verb but a different ending from cantar. So what we do in general to form the present tense is to get rid of the AR and add endings. So for the present tense, get rid of the AR, and add the ending. If you look at the second verb, bebo, it's the same thing. So you get rid of the ER and you add an O for the I form. Vivo, same thing again, get rid of the IR and add an O. For the past tense, we like to see the verbs in order to remember as a mnemotechnic technique is if your life basically is where the verb finishes, if you're referring to a past event, you're getting rid of experiences. So you're getting rid of the AR, ER or IR. So if you want to say I sang, what you do is you get rid of the AR and then you add an E with an accent. In the case of the ER and IR, all you do is you get rid of the ER or IR and then you add an I with an accent. And unfortunately, the only way of learning this is practice, practice, and practice. The future tense, in my opinion, the easiest. Why? Because if you look at it, we don't get rid of the AR, ER or IR forms. If you look at cantar, cantaré, it's basically the infinitive, cantar, and all you do is you just add an ending. So cantar, cantaré, beber, beberé, vivir, viviré. So you keep the infinitive and all you do is you just add endings. And the ending for the future, as you can see, is the same ending as for the first group of verbs, the AR, for the past tense. So what is the difference between canté and cantaré? Well, the only difference is that cantaré keeps the AR, the ending of the infinitive. So in order to form the future, all you need to do is keep the verb as you find it in general, unless it's an irregular verb, and just add the endings. For the past tense and the future tense, for the past tense and the present tense, you do need to get rid of the AR, the ER or the IR and then add the relevant endings. And underneath the future, we've got an arrow that points at the conditional, and that's because the conditional obviously refers to a future situation. So in the future, I would like to. in order to form the conditional, if you look at the verbs, the conditional is identical to the future. All we do is just change the ending. So, cantar, to sing, I would sing, cantaría. Beber, I would drink, bebería. Vivir, I live, viviría. So, we keep the infinitive and we just add endings. And the interesting thing and the easiest thing about the future and the conditional, as we will see, is that they keep the same endings no matter what the conjugation is. So, there is only one exception and we'll look at that, which is a we form, but we'll look at that later on. So, cantaré, beberé, viviré. You see, E with an accent for the three forms. For the present tense, it's the same ending but only for the I form. And for the past tense, the AR conjugation, that's its own thing. And then the ER and IR, most of the times they keep the same endings. So we see the mood as the grandma that has different sons and daughters. So the indicative would be a mood that refers to and describes actions in the present, the past, the future, the conditional. So this is the mood that we're gonna focus on. Then we also have the subjunctive mood, which is a more advanced mood, and we use it for hypothetical situations such as if I were the mayor, si fuera el alcalde o la alcaldesa, if I had the opportunity, si tuviera la oportunidad. So higher candidates should be ideally using the subjunctive. Finally, the imperative is a mood used for orders and commands. So if I say sit down, stand up, so we use it with school language mainly. So siéntate, levántate, abre el libro, dame una hoja, mirad, escuchad. So we're going to focus on the indicative, which is the mood that includes the higher variety of tenses and is used in everyday language. Is the most common one. But bear in mind that ideally you want to be looking at the subjunctive as well. We're only going to look at Spanish tenses on the indicative form and in particular at simple forms. But I'm also including the compound forms in here because obviously you need to know them. So, simple forms, we've got I eat, como, which is the present tense, the present simple. Then we have I ate, comí, and that's the preterite. I used to eat, when we want to describe an action, a description in the past or an action that was repeated in the past, and we call that the imperfect. I will eat, which is a future simple. And finally, I would eat, that's the conditional simple. In terms of the compound forms, we've got I have eaten, that's the present perfect. I had eaten, that's the past perfect, which we also call the pluperfect. I will have eaten, so if I will eat is a future simple, I will have eaten is a future the future perfect. And I would have eaten is the conditional perfect. Now, simple forms. I eat, como, present simple, to describe actions that happen, facts, events that happen on a daily basis. So every day like a routine. I get up at 7 o'clock. I eat this, I do that. Preterite, we use it to describe actions that happened in the past and finished in the past. So we use it for narrating events in the past. Yesterday, I ate this. So I ate this because dinner time is over, for example. I used to eat. Comía o solía comer. That's the imperfect. And we use imperfect when we want to refer to actions that happened for a prolonged period of time in the past or a description of the past. So, if I say, when I was younger, I used to eat cauliflower. Cuando era pequeña, comía, or an easier way, solía comer cauliflower. So, comía is I used to, is a description in the past of something that I used to do as a habit in the past. Now, future tense, future simple, I will eat. Comeré. The future simple is used for things that may or may not happen in the future. Another way of forming the future, which is not in here because it is not part of the general table of verbs, but is more what we call a perífrasis, is I am going to. Voy a comer, which we use for plans. I would eat. Comería, conditional. In the future, I would eat. I would like to. I would like to visit. Me gustaría, plus infinitive, visitar. O visitaría, viviría, comería, cantaría. Compound forms. So, present perfect or the perfect is I have eaten. The compound forms are formed by using the verb to have, which in Spanish is haber, in whichever tense we want to use it, and then, so present, past, future, or conditional, and then the past perfect of the verb that carries the information. So, I have eaten, he comido. So it's an action that happened in the past, but is still having an effect on the present. So today, I have eaten chips. Hoy he comido patatas fritas. Why don't I say I ate? Because the day is not finished. If I want to say, for example, I have visited Spain in the past, it also describes an action. Yes, I know, I've already visited Spain, but when I want to say that there is a link between the past and the present, that's when I would use a present perfect. So, I have visited Spain in the past. He visitado España en el pasado. I'm linking that to the present. The past perfect would be, again, an action that happened in the past before another action. So, I had never visited Spain until I went to Malaga last summer. So it's an action in the past before another action in the past. So, I had never visited. Nunca había visitado España before, antes, until, hasta, until that I visited. Que visité Málaga last year, el año pasado. I will have eaten. It's a plan for the future. So, for example, by 2030, I will have graduated from university. En el 2030 me habré graduado. And finally, I would have eaten, the conditional perfect, we use it in general with subjunctives, and we use it to refer to hypothetical situations. So if I had gone to the party, I would have worn jeans and a sweater. Si hubiera ido a la fiesta, so you need to use the pluperfect subjunctive in there, so that gets a little bit more complicated. Si hubiera ido a la fiesta, me habría puesto o habría llevado vaqueros y una camiseta. So, for the people doing a more foundation, more simple level, you need to really have a good command of the present, preterite, imperfect, future, and conditional, ideally. People who feel more comfortable with these tenses start looking at compound forms and have a look at other videos on the subjunctive mood, because obviously that's going to be boosting your grammar a lot. Present tense of regular verbs. To form the present tense, you need to take out the AR, ER, and IR of the infinitive form and add the following endings. So for cantar, you would just get rid of the AR and you add the endings depending on who the person is. Remember that in Spanish, the ending tells us the person and when the action happened. So you don't need to use the subject. You don't need to say yo canto. You can just say canto, because that O that you can see there in red underlined, that O is telling you, hello, that's I. So, canto, cantas, canta, cantamos, cantáis, cantan. For ER verbs, such as beber, bebo, bebes, bebe, bebemos, bebeis, beben. For the IR verbs, such as vivir, vivo, vives, vive, vivimos, vivis, viven. So if you look at the endings for the I form, the three conjugations, so the three groups, they all finish in O for the I form. Then the U form, singular, you've got an A, AS for AR verbs, and then the ER and IR verbs behave in the same way. And they do it for all of the persons. So if you look at the beber and vivir column, you can see that they behave all the same except for the we form, where we have an emos and EMOS for the ER verbs because it's an ER verb. And then you've got bebeis for the U plural. So apart from the we and U plural, which for the IR verbs would be vivimos, and I, because I, our verbs are the third group, vivimos and vivis. So apart from them, the rest behave in the same way. And then for the AR verbs, you can see O, AS, A, amos, ais, an. So O, as, a, amos, ais, an for the ER. O, S, E, emos, eis, en for the IR. O, S, E, imos, is, en. You just need to learn them by heart. There is a logic behind, as you can see. So AR, if you see an A, that's obviously going to be an AR verb, but you need to learn them. The good news is that once you know that mos means we, then when you see any tense, you would just recognize it straight away. Once you know the rules, the present tense is the most difficult. Once you know the rules, it's very, very easy to remember the rest of the tenses. But remember, there are a lot of exceptions as well, but we've only included regular verbs on this presentation. Hola, vamos a centrarnos en el pretérito en español. Hi, we're going to focus on the preterite in Spanish. To form the preterite tense, you need to take out the AR, ER, and IR of the infinitive form and add the following endings. So, if you look at the table, on the left-hand side, you've got the subject pronouns, yo, tú, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, y ellos, ellas. In Spanish, remember that because the ending of the verb tells you everything, in terms of the person and the tense, the subject is optional unless you want to emphasize. So if I say canté, that means I sang. You don't need to say yo canté unless you want to make emphasis. So yo canté. And you would also make emphasis on the subject pronoun yo. So for the AR verbs, what you do is you just take out the AR. So cantar, you take out the AR and then you add E with an accent, canté, cantaste for the U singular form, cantó, he or she, cantamos, we, cantasteis, you plural, cantaron, they. If you look at the we form, the preterite for the AR verbs is the same as the present tense. So the ending for the preterite on the we form is very easy because it's the same as the we form in the present tense. So if I want to say bailar, to dance, we dance would be bailamos. We danced, the same, bailamos. For the you plural, we've got cantasteis again, and the they form we've got cantaron. For the ER and IR verbs, if you look at the endings, they are absolutely identical for all persons. So, bebí, I drank. Bebiste, you singular drank. Bebió, he or she drank. Bebimos, we drank. Bebisteis, you plural drank. Bebieron, they drank. Y para vivir and for vivir, the same endings as for the ER verbs. Viví, viviste, vivió, vivimos, vivisteis, vivieron. There are a lot of irregular preterites, but we're going to have a look at the top 5. Number 1 is ser, to be, which is irregular even on the present tense. So if you want to say I was or I were, would be fui. You were, fuiste. He or she was or it was, fue. So if you want to describe an event and say it was great, you would say fue genial. We were, fuimos. You plural were, fuisteis. And they were, fueron. If you look at the second verb, it's very easy because it's identical to be, ser. So ir, to go, would be I went, fui. You went, singular, fuiste. He or she went, fue. So, or it, if you want to say she went to the cinema, fue al cine. We went, fuimos. You plural went, fuisteis. And they went, fueron. Number 3, ver, to watch or see. Vi, viste, vio, vimos, visteis, vieron. Tener, to have. For example, if unfortunately we had a pet but it passed away, we would say I had a dog. Tuve un gato. Tuve un perro. So, tuve, tuviste, tuvo, tuvimos, tuvisteis, tuvieron. And finally, number 5, hacer, to do. Hice. So, for example, yesterday I did my homework. Ayer hice mis deberes. Hiciste, hizo. So when you're describing the weather, for example, that's a very important verb when you're saying, oh yeah, I went to Spain and it was sunny. Remember that for weather, for example, it was sunny, we translate it with hacer. So it is sunny, hace sol. It was sunny, hizo sol. We did, hicimos. You plural did, hicisteis. And they did, hicieron. The imperfect tense in Spanish is used for repeated actions in the past or for descriptions. For example, cuando era pequeña, leía, or another way of saying it, an easier way, solía leer muchas novelas. When I was little, I read, or I used to read, a lot of novels. So when you're referring to something that you used to do for a prolonged period of time in the past, that's when you use the imperfect. To form the imperfect tense, you need to take out the AR, ER, and IR of the infinitive form and add the following endings. For the first conjugation, first group of verbs, such as cantar, just get rid of the AR and you add ava, avas, ava, ábamos, abais, aban. So, cantaba, cantabas, cantaba, cantábamos, cantabais, cantaban. For the ER verbs and the IR verbs, the endings, if you look at both columns, they are completely identical. So, bebía, bebías, bebía, bebíamos, bebíais, bebían. And in the case of vivir, vivía, vivías, vivía, vivíamos, vivíais, vivían. So these verbs mean cantaba, I sang in the past for a prolonged period of time. So when I was younger, I sang pop music for a period of time. So whenever you are in doubt, if you can say I used to, or you can say for a period of time, then you know that's going to be an imperfect tense in Spanish. Cantaba. Bebía, I drank in the past. I used to drink. So when I was younger, I used to drink squash. Cuando era pequeña, bebía squash. Vivía. I used to live, or I lived. When I was 8, I used to live in Spain, but then I moved to Newcastle. Cuando tenía 10 años, vivía en España, pero ahora vivo en Newcastle. And if you look at the AR, this is actually the only one that is a little bit more complicated because you've got the B and the A there. Another way to describe a repeated action in the past is to use the solía plus infinitive structure, used to. For example, I used to like this. Solía gustarme, blah blah. You just need to conjugate solía in the imperfect tense, bearing in mind that solía comes from soler, which is an ER verb, and add the infinitive form of the verb carrying the meaning. So, if you want to say I used to sing, you would just say solía cantar. And this table is different. We don't have the 3 conjugations because you always need to use solía and then whichever verb you want, no matter what the conjugation is. So solía cantar, solía beber, solía vivir. You singular, solías. He, she, it, solía. We, solíamos. You, plural, solíais. And they, solían. The future in Spanish. To talk about the future as a time frame in general, we can use either of these forms. The present tense, when it's a fact, for example, the train leaves at 7, el tren sale a las 7. Then we can use a future simple, I will study Spanish tomorrow, estudiaré español mañana. Or the future with the be going to form. I am going to go to the cinema with my friends. Voy a ir al cine con mis amigos. To form the future simple, the will form, I will sing, you need to keep the verb on the infinitive form as it is and just add the following endings. For the I form, you would just add an E with an accent. So cantaré. You singular, cantarás. He or she cantará. We cantaremos. You plural, cantaréis. They cantarán. So as you can see, I've only added cantar, and that's because all verbs have got the same endings in the future tense, no matter which group they belong to. So in the case of beber, it would be beberé, beberás, beberá, beberemos, beberéis, and beberán. And the same with vivir. Viviré, vivirás, vivirá, viviremos, viviréis, vivirán. To form the future tense with be going to, you just need to conjugate ir, to go, in the present tense, followed by the infinitive of the verb carrying the meaning. For example, we're going to use cantar, but the same rules apply for AR, ER, and IR verbs. I am going to sing. Voy a cantar. You singular are going to sing. Vas a cantar. He or she is going to sing. Va a cantar. We are going to sing. Vamos a cantar. You plural are going to sing. Vais a cantar. They are going to sing. Van a cantar. Finally, to form the conditional simple, you need to keep the verb on the infinitive form as it is and add the following endings. We're going to use cantar, but the same endings apply for AR, ER, and IR verbs. I would sing, cantaría. You singular would sing, cantarías. He or she would sing, cantaría. We would sing, cantaríamos. You plural would sing, cantaríais. They would sing, cantarían. If you look at the endings, ia, ias, ia, íamos, iais, ian, what do they remind you of? Well, if you go back to the slides where we talked about the different tenses, you can see how the endings for the conditional are the same as the endings for the imperfect of groups 2 and 3 of verbs. So, bebía, I used to drink, I drank. Vivía, I lived. Versus bebería, viviría. So the endings are the same. The only difference is that bebía, the imperfect, would get rid of the ER of the infinitive, whereas the conditional, bebería, keeps the ER. The same for IR verbs.